Okay, so today we're going to start sewing some stuff together and start putting on the face, which out of context probably sounds very bad. In crochet, all it means is we're going to do some embroidery, and I'll show you what the book wants us to do. What the book wants us to do is cut some felt out and shape the eyes out of that. You can see it here. And the little forehead dot, but I've never had good luck with gluing felt onto yarn. That has just never worked for me. So what I'm going to do is I am going to trace out the pieces, and then I'm just going to pin them onto the head and use them as a guide for embroidery. Let me check if the audio is good. Okay, so I have my tracing paper here. If you've never seen it, you can use it for all kinds of art, but I mainly use it when I am tracing a pattern. I probably should have gotten my tape. Hold on a second. I think if I just tape this in place for a minute, I can trace everything. I'm not going to trace the nose. How would you even trace a piece of felt that small? And oh, that'll probably just be one stitch. You guys see this okay? Let me see. Yeah, I think you can. I never noticed Espeon's eyes are kind of a weird shape. I'm going to trace out the eye shine here because I want that to be in white yarn, and I'll embroider around it in purple. All right, so again, we are not going to trace the nose because that is infinitesimally small. That'll probably just be like one stitch. Okay, so they need to be placed on the head at between rounds 11 and 14 with 5 stitches between them. So you can see this is the side that has the cheek. So that's the front of the face. And we count from here because this is spiral crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Better get out my pins. So I know that's round 11. I can count 5 stitches from this and adjust from there. You see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's where the top of the eyes need to be, is this row. And I believe the 5 stitches should be between the lower points of the eyes. Look at an Espeon. The lower points of the eyes are closer together than the higher ones because they kind of curve a little bit. I'm not sure if they're this complicated on its model, but that's what the pattern wants us to do. So let's see, 11, 12, 13, 14. That's where we can start, is these lower blue pins. Typically, if you cut out a pattern like this, you pin it onto fabric. You use that to cut out your pattern pieces. I'm kind of adapting that for embroidery here. These are very small, so they shouldn't take too many pins. I might not even cut them out all the way, just leave some extra space so that they stay on easier. I've tried things like this before. If you make these tiny pieces of paper too small, the pins will rip through them and they fall off pretty easily. But I have these lines here, so I know to follow those. Okay, now if we set it like this, we can put the other pin in the far corner up here. And that tells us where the first eye should go. I love when my pattern piece is so tiny I accidentally flick it and I have to search for it. Happens to everybody, right guys? This one a little further down. I think for the eyes, I can use the same dark purple I used for the inside of the ears. That seems about right. So 5 stitches between them. Looks like, looking at the picture, it looks like the nose is only like 3 rows down. That shouldn't be too hard. I have some red yarn picked out already for the forehead gem. Let's check this. Oh, it just says glue red circle above eyes. That's very helpful. I'm sorry if you can hear the assorted madness in the background. It's Full House. Okay, that looks pretty centered, right, chat? I could peel the yarn apart and only use like 3 strands. I'm looking for my tapestry needle. So you can see this yarn kind of large. I think it might be a little thicker than what I used for the head and the body. So if I just use that normally, it'll probably bulk up really quickly and look strange. We're going to stab up through the neck hole. Once we're done with this paper, I think we can just tear it off pretty quickly. It's surprisingly strong. I don't personally play League of Legends, both for the obvious reasons and because I don't have very good hand-eye coordination, but I have family that do. So they tell me a lot about it, and I have so many questions, y'all. Like, why Ari? Why her in particular? Why is she considered so beautiful? Like, plenty of people have noticed this already. Most female champions in LoL have like the exact same body, and Ari is one of them. I wouldn't say her face looks particularly different either. They kind of all have the same generic, conventionally attractive woman face. So I'm curious, why is she considered like the fan service girl of League? What makes her different? Is it the fox stuff? Have people never seen a fox girl before? It is endlessly funny to me that her lore involves emotions. She's based on a creature that seduces people, and it actually works. It doesn't just work in the fantasy world of League. In real life, people just lose their minds over her. There's this stuff you can get called tearaway stabilizer, where you put it like under fabric as you're sewing it so that it just get caught in your sewing machine. And I think I should probably try and get some of that sometime. You know what else surprised me? There's no beach Ari skin. My brother was telling me this, and his theory is that they have like Riot has like a beach Ari planned out. I don't remember what the summer line is called, but like they haven't used it yet because it's too powerful. And if the fan base ever gets like particularly annoying, they'll just be like, may break in case of emergency. Pacify the fans with Beach Ari. Because if I was looking at a fan base that's mostly generic weebs, I would be like, yeah, that's the first thing I'm doing. I'm putting the Fox girl in a bikini. Why didn't they do that first? I don't really have the energy to put up with another toxic fan base and corrupt company because that's like every fandom ever. It doesn't sound much fun. Why is Sona too? What makes her different? She's got the same body as every other female champ. Shout out to the guy that drew Leona for basically just drawing a portrait of his wife. At least try for some creativity, my man. It's not actually harassment. Don't take that as harassment. Don't go up to him and tell him I said that. I'm making an artistic critique, not a personal attack. There we go. Hold on. Second. Okay. Something I think about a lot with League is it can be very easily habit forming. I'm not sure if I can say the actual word on YouTube. And this probably doesn't apply to every single character, every single player, but I'm curious if some of the people playing it are neurodivergent. And if that contributes to why so many people have such a hard time putting it down, because when your brain doesn't make enough dopamine, which is what happens if you have like ADHD, for example, your brain, it effectively doesn't have enough of the happy chemicals. So when you find something that you really enjoy, your brain latches onto it like a vampire or something. That's why we get things like hyperfixations. And League is already like easier, more accessible than going outside and exploring nature or like actually like what are some things you can do in League really easily that would be hard in real life? Like going on a whole adventure with all these people that wouldn't be easy. We don't we don't always have to adventure in the modern day. It would take a very long time. But with League, you can just like hit some buttons. And that's the case for a lot of screen time and gaming in general. That's why it can be hard to put down for a lot of people. But if your brain is already not making enough dopamine, that makes it even harder because once you do put it down, you feel super, super bored and like something's missing, you know? Everything else feels really boring compared to it. It doesn't excuse any of the general terrible behavior, but I wonder if it contributes to why so many people get so attached to League. Even if they're not really enjoying it anymore, they feel like they can't put it down. There's the dot. It's also endlessly funny that its name can be abbreviated as LOL, because that's what a lot of people do when someone tells them, "Oh, I play League of Legends." Then run away screaming. There's probably plenty of people who are normal about it, just like I don't think the people I know who play it have ever been toxic, for example. They just keep to themselves and happen to enjoy the game. Just obviously you don't hear about that as much. And when it gets bad, it gets really bad. I had a teacher once who said that the Star Wars fandom had the most toxic fandom ever, and it is very bad, but I was like, my dude, you have never been to an anime fandom. You were not watching a show in the 2010s. I don't want to say it in case the fans that come out of the woodwork. Hey, I didn't plan that, but okay, we still have to time it. I remember once how I saw it phrased was, "Have you ever seen a Star Wars fan liking Star Wars?" And I was like, I hate that the answer is no. I don't think it's ever really going to be what its fans want it to be. I don't think it's going to be the deeply political story that people really enjoyed about Andor. I don't think it's going to commit to that. I don't think it's going to have like hard world building and stuff. But maybe there are other sci-fi series that do that. Maybe people can write their own sci-fi. Me personally, I'm kind of sick of it. A lot of people have noticed just how constantly it's been putting out content, and it's been like the thing that gets pushed as like the ringleader of sci-fi for years and years and years and years and years. And honestly, I'm like, stop. I'm gonna go read something else. I don't read sci-fi a lot, but maybe somebody else does and they can give some recommendations. Have you guys seen the prices of Legos recently? Because a little while ago, I was looking at like the Lego Death Star and how it costs $800, and I was like, this isn't the first time people have thought Star Wars fans are loaded, but like, I get that Star Wars is popular, or was, but like, that doesn't mean every individual fan is just has buckets of cash. You know, they can just throw money around. It doesn't mean they can afford to pay like 2K a night to play at stay at a hotel or whatever it was. I'm not sure every Star Wars fan has $800 to spend on Legos. Like, who do you think is going to buy this? It doesn't make a ton of sense to me. Okay. Who did they think was going to stay at that hotel? Like there are certainly people that plan vacations, but I think even most of them, even if they're planning like a really important vacation, I don't think a lot of people can afford to drop 2K on a hotel. Plus, the hotel costs so much to, I don't remember the details anymore. Look it up if you're curious, but the hotel costs so much just to make that it would need to be relatively full, like pretty much every night just to break even. And like, I don't, I'm not even like a business expert, and the logic is just not logicking to me. Maybe it's like the fossil fuel industry. Maybe the people behind this don't deal in logic. They just see like dollar signs. What I'm interested in about theme parks is environmental storytelling. You can tell a story using a place, things you can interact with, like signs, actions. Okay, now let's make sure you know where the shine of the eye needs to be, right here. Maybe I should get some smaller scissors. Maybe another pin. Okay. I also made a Sylveon where I put on the face using this method, and I'm hoping it'll work if I want to make the other evolutions. Okay, we can probably take the paper off soon. I'm trying not to overthink this because you probably won't see this part unless you're looking very, very closely. It's depressing to see how many fans are constantly like, Riot, do this, Riot, do that. Like, I'm sure I've seen some of what they want. I get it. Like, you could vary up how you design your female characters, for example. It's just like I don't think that's ever going to happen because like like the company, not necessarily each individual writer. I don't think the corporate backing of League of Legends cares about anything except the dollar signs. And considering how, in spite of everything, League is like one of the biggest games in the world, I don't think that's going to change. And I don't think it's cynical to say that because that's not saying like we can never have better character designs. We can, they just might not be in League. Maybe we should create our own games. Maybe we could write books. Maybe we could draw comics or just create our own characters, you know? It reminds me of the phrase, be the change you want to see in the world. I don't think it's worth bashing our heads into a wall trying to get a corporate entity to obey our every whim when we can just do the thing ourselves. And yes, resources are a thing. We might not be able to make like $1 million, just the eye. We might not be able to make like a $1 million like gigantic MOBA right away, but we can do something. We can get started. For example, I am not much of a game developer, but I love to write stories, so that's what I do. I love to draw, so that's what I do. I want to have more varied character designs. That's where I put them, and that's what I'm going to pursue. I've seen authors do independent publishing as opposed to traditional publishing, for example, and that's something I'm considering looking into. I also just love to draw and for other people to see it. So that's the content I want to make. Oops. Talking about this stuff sort of reminds me of Ilawi too. I haven't actually heard her name spoken out loud. I might be getting that wrong. Don't bug me about it. It's not the point. It makes me think of how she's built very sturdy. She's deliberately very large. She takes up a lot of space. And you don't see that a lot in League's female characters. And that's great. I appreciate it. But I don't want them to just make one like one muscular femme and then go back to drawing a bunch of conventionally attractive anime women, which is what they did. What I want to see is a permanent change in how characters are designed and for that to be more equitable. And I don't have a ton of faith in Riot to do that. If it does, great. But even if it doesn't, I still want to make that happen on my own. I think what a lot of companies like this or Disney, I think what they don't want us to realize is that we don't need them to be entertained. Like, as someone who wants to entertain for a living, it's just entertainment. We'll live. If we want to like watch a show or something, it doesn't have to be one of their shows. We want to play a video game, it doesn't have to be a Riot game. I wonder if that's why they try to push out the competition, is so there is no other option. Well, too bad. I don't think it's cynical, and this goes for a lot of things. I don't think it's cynical to say that the thing that we have right now, which in this case is a lot of character designs and general money hungriness, I don't think it's cynical to say that that's bad or that doesn't work or that I don't think it's going to change. I think what would be cynical would be to say that there's no way to ever break out of that because there is. Say otherwise is one factually wrong. We can change what we do. We can support games we actually like instead of complaining about the ones that we don't like. We can create things that we like. Two, just sitting like complaining and then sitting there and doing nothing. What do you think is going to happen? You sound like the Pokemon fandom when they complain about how mediocre the games are every 3 years and then keep buying them. If this was something like food or water, that's where I would go like, well, you should just be able to have quality that, you know, you need to have quality food and water to survive. But this is just a video game. It's just a video game. If you don't like it, no one's making you play it. You'll survive. It's not a necessity. You know, set by the way, I read a little while ago that there was an idea where he was going to be a honey badger, and like, I personally would have really enjoyed that. If you haven't seen Casual Geographic's video where he talks about them, which I highly recommend, by the way, honey badgers are the only animal I know that willingly picks fights with lions and can just like ignore deadly poison. It's so cool. Maybe eventually we'll find out there's like an underwater boxing ring And there will be like a peacock mantis shrimp that's the boss. I could even put that in the ocean game idea I was talking about. I personally don't like fighting rings. That's why I'm not personally in love with Set. He's a criminal. He snaps people's necks a lot. It's not my thing. I'm vanilla like that. It's a little funny to me how some of the skins and a lot of fans ship him with Aphelios because a loon is always there, and I would be, well, not physically, but you get the idea. I would be so nervous because the sister is just like watching everything we would do. I'd be like, can the sister depart briefly? She's breathing down my neck. This is awkward. She's glaring at me. I wouldn't want my brother dating a criminal either. But you get the idea. Sometimes you need some privacy. I am truly in awe of the people with like the brain power to learn how to play Aphelios because I do not have it. That is not easy. You guys see this? Okay. I might need to adjust these eyes when I'm done because I'm not sure the pattern made them exactly the same shape. Zip it. Gotta refill my yarn. Okay, now it's time to go around the eye shine. Think League is ever going to handle politics that well either. But I don't know, maybe people can just write their own political stories. There's certainly an audience for it. I've seen it with my own two eyes. Maybe they could do something about politics in the real world. Ooh. I wonder how other people get their ideas. I don't think there's any one singular way, like every author gets their idea. I think it's different for everybody. Like for me, for example, I know it when I see it. I see something and I go, oh, I want to do something like that. Or I have an idea, for example, and I know I want to use it for something. I just don't know what. So what I'll do is write it down. I kind of carry it around until I find a good place to put it, like it's in my pocket. It's really satisfying when I finally find a place to use an idea that I have or a concept that I think is really cool. It's sort of like if there are any artists in the audience, it's kind of like if you've been saving fabric or crafting supplies for years and years and years, and you finally find a place to use it, and you're like, yes, I knew there was a good reason to hold on to that. For example, I've tried to design a character who represents like cold in the winter before, and the whole like snowy noble lady idea, I didn't want to use that because I felt like that's how everybody draws winter, or at least that I've seen. But I did like the whole snowy noble lady idea. I just didn't want to use it for that thing. So I held on to it, and recently it occurred to me that I could just have like a character who lives in the snow and looks kind of snowy, even if they're not also like the the deity of snow. So that's something I might do, is have a character who represents the winter and a character who just kind of lives there and looks pretty. No goals. Well, I don't want to live in the snow, but you get the idea. Curious about something. How is all of Pokemon Legends za going to take place within just Lumio City? My brother says it's really big and you only get to explore like a quarter of it. I have a hard time with spatial measurements. So I wonder if we'll find out that it's actually like ginormous. How will you fit an entire game into a city? Would there only be like urban Pokemon? I don't know. I don't think Pokemon is ever going to be exactly what its fans want it to be either. But it's amazing to me just how many people have enjoyed it and they carry on the things they enjoy about it in their own projects, like the Stemma region. I noticed, I might have mentioned this before, but just in case I didn't, or Potempo by Mr. Bonnie John. I don't remember what it's called right now, but that thing subjectively is doing that's like monster collecting, but it's like 19th century cosmic horror, Jules Verne, sign me up. It's cool to see how many people combine it with the things that they already enjoy. Like for Subjective Jack, for example, that's cosmic horror. That's something he likes. I'm not sure about the whole collectible monster thing, but I really like Pokemon's art style. That's inspired a lot of the way that I draw, which you guys will hopefully see soon. Even if you don't collect them, I'm probably going to have to do, well, I have an idea for some kind of creature for a different story in mind anyway. I really like the Treasures of Ruin. The idea that someone's emotions kind of leaked into the objects that they were carrying around, which in this case was the beads, the cauldron, the swords, and the tablets. I think that's cool. And the emotions animate them into looking kind of like animals, but they're very obviously not regular animals. They're just like elements. It reminds me of when something is haunted or about the idea of Tsukumogami. 'All right, we're almost finished this eye. If I pile this on too much, it makes the eyes kind of 3D. It's interesting. The eyes look pretty similar now. Nearly there. I wonder what color you would call this, because the body color looks almost like mauve. I don't think I've ever seen this specific shade of darker purple before. All right. Maybe add a little bit to the left eye. Well, I guess that's the Espeon's right, but my mom once informed me that the color violet is not purple, it's like pink. I'm very curious about how that transition happened. Why do people use it to mean purple today? Okay. Now, once we have this fastened off, I think we can add the eye shines and the nose. Apparently, the nose should go on round 15, so it's closer to the eyes than I thought, but at least we have a definite place of where to put it. All right, gotta tie this off without like putting a giant knot in the head. That would look weird. Now, if I make this small enough, I think I should be able to hide it in the stitches but it will be strong enough to hold on. For this one, I can't believe it's taken this amount of time just to finish this Espeon. But I also think that's a good thing because if I don't pace myself, I do this like all day, and that tires my hands out. As you can see, they need support. And then I'm hunching over all day. It's not good for my back or my neck either. So I think it's smart to space it out like this. By the way, guys, for real, you see this burn? It's the same burn. Be careful with your irons. I thought it would go away in like a day. It's been over a week. Okay, now for some more yarn. I've seen a lot of gamers have similar experiences where the thing they enjoy about a character isn't what gets spotlighted because it's not what makes the dollar signs. And, that must be hard. That's probably happened to me. I haven't been gaming a lot recently, but if I thought about it, I could probably think of something. But, like, I don't think and I get that these things matter to people, but I don't think it's worth, like, causing oneself distress, like actual distress over, which I have seen happen with my own two eyes, or I don't know, sending people hate speech over, or any of the generally terrible things that gamers do. I don't know, if you don't like the game you're playing, just go pick a different one. Instead of trying to like brute force what you're already playing into becoming something you like, just go out and look for the thing that you like. Okay, now for this part. Has it ever been explained what this red jewel on Espeon's forehead is? Or is it more representative, like an idea of the third eye? As you can see, we've left some space, so now we're filling it in with white yarn. That's going to be the shine of the eye. Putting this all together is probably going to be a whole other stream. If it might even take a couple, just to make sure everything's in the right place. There's lots of pieces. I feel like the nose could really be a couple stitches. The typical, if you've ever embroidered before, a lot of times what you'll do is do one longer stitch and right below it, you'll put a shorter one. It makes a kind of triangle shape. That seems perfectly manageable to me, so I'm not sure why that's not just in the directions. Okay, now I could adjust these a little bit to make them match. Hold on. always forget this one's not sharp. A little bit more. It's a little funny to me how some people want League to be more political because imagining the words like League of Legends and politics together, that doesn't inspire a lot of faith in me. Instead, it inspires fear. Plus, what incentive does the company have to do that? If you dare to say something like women are people or colonization bad, then some of your fans might get they might get tilted. They might start they might start clowning you on social media even more than you already get clowned. Then like then your stock then your stockholders might lose money. Shareholders, I always get that mixed up. Again, I don't think that's cynical to say. I don't think that means we can we can never change who's in charge of media or what it gets to address. I think we have to do some of that work ourselves. Okay, this looks pretty good now. Just a second, go get a band-aid. For example, considering how League treats a lot of its female characters, if it decided to have sexism in its fantasy world for some reason, which maybe it does, and I just haven't checked in a while. But I don't think it would handle that very well. And even if it tried to say feminism good, it's not showing that through its designs or its writing. Like you only need to look at Kaisa to know that. It's not the most professional way to tie things off. I just have a bad habit of not cutting my yarn long enough. Okay. Now, don't worry about all this stuff. You won't see it once this is finished. We're going to sew it onto the body and it will just become part of the stuffing. If you're wondering why this yarn looks kind of fuzzy, I accidentally dropped it into my laundry once and it went through an entire wash cycle. I was worried it would be like ruined, but I can still use it fine. That was not what I was expecting to see as I pulled my laundry out of the dryer. I was worried it was a spider. I was talking to my mom about amigurumi once, and she said she doesn't really like the assembly part. But I thought that was interesting because I actually love the assembly. It's one of my favorite steps. For her, she doesn't really like it, so that's why, although she does crochet, she doesn't really do amigurumi. She just makes like clothes. Mm. Now let's make sure this doesn't look too strange from the outside. Let's add one more. Almost finished. Oh, looks like a little cat. My dog, she will poke me with her nose when she wants attention, which is all the time. It's very sweet of her to want to cuddle so much, but her nose is very cold and slimy, so she's also kind of gross. We'll adjust. Oop. Now we can tie this off. I try to tell my dog talking to I try to tell my mom talking to our dog is kind of like talking to chat. No, they're both kind of smelly. They breathe through their mouths. They probably haven't bathed in a little bit. They're both very, very affectionate. Now, if you embroider something really tightly, it can kind of pucker. So what I do is just poke back through it with a needle or whatever I have and try to make it go back to normal. By the time the face is all done, it looks super cute. See? I think we have time to sew the inner ears on, so we might do that before we end today. I might need to add more purple yarn here. These are going to look really good when they're done. Hmm. 1 second. Yep, I will need to refill. You know what would be really cool is if there was more flowers in this color I told you about, and you could like maybe that's where people got the idea to even make this color of yarn. I always wonder where people get those. Do they just like look at what's popular? Is it like naming nail polish? When you're sewing through, when you're sewing something like this, see how this is two layers? Make sure you're not embroidering through both layers because then the back is going to be covered in stitches. Okay, that's one ear. Recently, a YouTuber I was watching, Randy Troy, he was discussing how he's been stuck in kind of algorithm jail. I would love if you guys could go over there and drop a like or a comment or share the video. I don't know if some of you watch Randy Troy already, but in case you don't, he's a writer and he discusses how writing and stuff applies in his favorite stories. He's super funny. The intros to his videos are always hilarious. And he also loves movies. So he'll talk about movies a lot, or he'll use clips of them to show how he's feeling. He always seems to have the perfect one for every situation. While you're at it, make sure you drop a like and subscribe and stuff here too. Because maybe you have heard it before, but why people say it is it really helps out. It helps us gain traction and it helps us keep getting seen by people. So it's really important. I think especially the share part is important. I see that with influencers from everywhere. No, make sure their videos get seen. And a direct way you can do that is just by sharing it with someone else. Okay. all tied off. It looks like when I was making this, I didn't tie off the inner ear properly, so we're gonna have to be careful starting out. Maybe I was tired. People always tell me to wear a thimble, but like where? People seem to usually keep their hands in just one position while they're sewing or embroidering, and I move mine around a lot, so I would never know where to put the thimble. Remember how yesterday, I think it was yesterday, I was talking about how maybe games today have fewer hardware limitations that affects what they do. I wonder if that affects games like League. How good is their hardware? Is it affecting their creativity? How much are they pushing boundaries? Even since the game began, technology has changed a lot. Gaming has changed a lot. Or it could always just be the Pokemon route where things don't really get changed up because they don't have to keep the money rolling in. Almost finished. Forgot to take that out. Maybe we could give this Espeon a name if you guys want to suggest one. So we're all done. It's such a labor of love. I feel like it deserves a name. All finished. That should be it for today, everyone. See you next time.